I'm very pleased to join it now with Rana Bokhari, one of our candidates for mayor here in Winnipeg. A pleasure to meet you. And I think the first question we like to ask everybody is, why did you decide to run for mayor?
You know what? That's such a great question, and one of my favorite questions that I like answering. As someone who is a former politician, I've been in politics, was in politics for a very long time in my earlier life, in my early 30s. I'm now almost 45 now, so I've been in law for 7 years. I think that I hoped for 7 years. I hoped that I would see something different. I hoped that I would see something that was more reflective of society, of the needs of Winnipeggers, of who we really are as people, the values that we represent of community, of sustainability, of prosperity. And I didn't see that. And I think that I think once a public servant, kind of always a public servant. I think that once you kind of delved into politics, you always have that mindset of what can we do better, what can we contribute uh, to the betterment of everyone. So for me, it's really much rooted in that. And look, at the end of the day, I think it's time for a change. I think it's time for a human rights candidate to be leading this city. I think it's time for a woman to be leading this city. I think we've tried and tried and tried to resolve some of the issues that are really there's solutions to them. There's just no political will to resolve them. So that's where I come in, and I'm fighting hard.
Let's talk about some of those issues. People in Winnipeg overwhelmingly right now saying that homelessness and poverty, they're at the top of the issues for this election. We see the growing issue with homelessness in the city. What's your plan to help people experiencing homelessness in the city get them off the streets and get them the help that they need?
Great question. At the end of the day, I'm a systems thinker. It's not just homelessness. Homelessness is directly connected to, not caused by, but I think that there's definitely a very strong correlation between homelessness, addiction, and mental health. And I think that once we think of it in that view, with that lens, then we realize that in an effort to house the unhoused, what we need to also do is acknowledge and start taking aggressive steps to resolve the addictions and mental health issues that we're seeing around the city. We have to proceed with dignity and compassion. We have to proceed with kindness and understanding that those who are consumed by such awful illnesses, sicknesses, and I would remind Winnipeggers that now addiction is a considered a mental health issue under the DSM-5. So we have to proceed with as if we are in, which we are on a provincial level, a health crisis, but it is a health crisis. Once we resolve those issues, then we can be hand in hand. We will have to deal with the homelessness, but they're all connected. When it comes to homelessness specifically, budgets are based on priorities. That's the truth of the matter. So we have to prioritize these things. We have to invest money in some of these issues. And we'll talk a little bit. I know one of your questions about policing, and we'll get to that. But what I would say is that any approach that we take without balancing all three of those issues together, we will not resolve the issue. It is a tried and true evidence-based statement. We cannot resolve homelessness until we resolve issues of addiction and until we resolve issues of
I think maybe the next question also tied to the issue you brought up of addictions in the city, crime, right at the top of the list. Also for people and their concerns going into this election, it seems to be getting, well, not seems, it is demonstrably getting worse in the city. What needs to be done in your mind to reduce crime in Winnipeg, and how do you plan to do that as mayor?
right. So I'm the only one who spoke about safe injection sites, and there's a reason for that. I'm the only one who has been actively speaking about police budgets because there's a reason for that. Policing and crime, policing is a reactive measure. Policing is not a preventative measure. We have not taken a preventative measure to crime. number one, which is a failed attempt. Secondly, um, in an effort to resolve crime, and I think we have to be much broader when we speak about crime. I know that there is, at times, we believe or we discuss crime as if it's only a downtown issue. Crime is rampant amongst the cities, from Transcona to River Heights to Tuxedo to Tyndall Park. For Gary, it doesn't matter where you are dealing with break-ins, you're dealing with catalytic converters, theft, you're dealing with violence on the streets, and sometimes unprovoked. Why is that happening? Because we have drugs on the streets. We have people who are consumed by meth and fentanyl. We have people consumed by some of the most violent drugs, that are so awful that they completely change a human being. And again, I come down to the roots of it. When we resolve mental health, when we resolve the drug issue, and one of the ways I've pledged to do that is I'm committed to a safe injection site immediately. We have to have a safe injection site in Winnipeg where those who are consumed by their addiction have a safe space to go, in proximity to where they are currently, following all the evidence-based harm reduction measures to do that. And what we do is basically those individuals are no longer on the streets consumed by their addiction, committing crime. We've taken some portion of this issue off the street. It's a public safety. It's a public safety issue. What it also does is it takes needles off the street. It takes drug paraphernalia off the street. It takes all those safety risks off the street. So my commitment is a safe injection site. Let's get those consumed by addiction off the street. When they're off the streets and they're being dealt with compassion and dignity and ways to resolve their addiction, they will not be on the streets of Winnipeg. They will be in a safe space where they can do their whatever it is that they're addicted to, but it's not going to be on the street.
Really quick on safe injection sites, like some people might say they don't work and you're just enabling and you're providing drugs for people that are addicted. You mentioned evidence-based. What have you seen as you've looked at the subject, and yeah, how effective do you believe safe injection sites to be then?
You know what? It's a great question. I appreciate someone asking that question. You know, we are not reinventing the wheel here. You know, Vancouver does it, Montreal does it, and I will also remind Winnipeg that it's actually happening currently, to some extent without any resources and any funding. We need to bolster that. There is evidence that it works. It has to work in a specific way. There have been other jurisdictions who have tried it. At times, they have missed some component of it. Our job is to use evidence base from what has worked in other jurisdictions, and fill the gaps and implement it here. We don't have to reinvent the wheels, but we can certainly learn from what has worked and what hasn't worked in other jurisdictions. And no, we are not enabling anything. Addiction is addiction. Those who are consumed by addictions, just because we tell them not to do it, is not going to help them. It's a chemical issue. It's a medical issue. It's a health issue. It's a mental health. It has to be treated like that.
One of the other top issues, this is every election in Winnipeg, I feel like, roads. This spring, especially, with the crazy winter that we had, it really highlighted the city's crumbling road infrastructure. How do you plan to address roads and transportation in the city?
Right. And I think, it's a bigger conversation. So, we have to continue to invest in infrastructure. We need to collaborate, definitely collaborate. And, as a lawyer, I sometimes hesitate to use the word collaboration. I think right now we are in a situation where we need to be negotiating. I know that there's a federal infrastructure assessment happening right now. I've already written to the minister to make sure that some specific parts of Winnipeg are included, especially water pipes are included, because again, everything's interconnected. Water main breaks to infrastructure to sidewalks. These are all issues that we're going to deal with. So yes, we have to continue to invest in it, but we need to invest in it smart. We can't just throw money at things and when it's not working, continue to do it as if it's going to somehow change. More money is not the issue that's going to resolve this issue. It is effective use of the public dollar. It is effective use of taxpayer dollars. That is how we resolve these issues. We need to again, if something is not working, why do we continue to do it?
A lot of these issues that we've talked about, they might have some or might involve, provincial or federal jurisdiction. Now, you have some experience on the provincial side, of course, as leader of the Manitoba Liberal Party for a few years. How do you see your role if elected as mayor? How do you plan to improve relationships with other levels of governments?
It's not just provincial. I don't think that it was my provincial experience that has provided me the skill set of negotiation collaboration. My practice. I've spent the last 7 years working with with specific First Nations, and this is what we do. We negotiate, we collaborate with federal and provincial counterparts. Get waterways, get sewage, get lagoons built, get rec centers built, get community centers built. I've been doing this for 7 years. So it is a unique skill set. When people say, "Oh, we're just going to collaborate," I don't think that that's the answer to the question. These are very specific ways to deal with provincial and federal governments. You have to know what they are. It's like any negotiation. What are their key points and what are ours? Because the one thing that is clear, not whether or not, let me rephrase that. The one thing that is quite clear is that what's good for Winnipeg is good for the province, and what's good for the province is good for the federal government. Right now, we do have a federal government that is quite cooperative. We do have a federal government that understands addiction, poverty, homelessness. They have put initiatives in place. We do have a federal government that has the value. So we need to work together with them, but it's a skill set. It's not just you're going to walk at a table and it's all going to work out. We need to understand what our position is. That is the 101 of negotiation. If you've been doing it for 7 years like me, it comes secondhand. If you're just starting out, you're going to need some training.
Lots of great plans in every platform that I've seen, lots of great ideas. So the big question always, where's the money going to come from to do what your platform promises to do?
Yeah, and you know what? I'm not the candidate out there making billion-dollar promises. I'm not. Every single promise that I have made is doable. It's doable within 4 years. It's doable within a lot of it within some of our current funding. It's reprioritizing budgets. And I'm again the only candidate who understood that the police budget has to be 10% of that has to be reallocated to go into some of these projects. When it comes to mental health, when it comes to addiction, those are the things that are going to resolve crime. Can't do it with no money. We have to invest in those community services. Where that money is going to come from is from that reallocation. It's about $32 million that is going to now go directly into these issues, specifically safe injection sites, specifically crime prevention, and specifically mental health, poverty, and homelessness.
Where can people find out more about your platform and read up on what you would like to do as mayor before election day gets here?
Rana Bokhari, no, Rana for Winnipeg, all full words, .ca is my website. You can find my policies, my platform there. Follow me on any social media. I'm active on TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, whatever it is. You'll find me there. And you know what? I'm easy. I think people, you have access to me. I'm definitely out there. I'm definitely out there speaking as loud as possible. So contact me, contact the team for any questions or concerns. We will endeavor to respond to any of your queries as fast as possible. But it's time to vote now. This is not. We do not want to go back to the 90s. We surely don't want people who have zero skill set and collaboration. It's a completely different time, And again, what we need is a human rights candidate. We need to lift people. We need to focus on who we are as Winnipeggers. Who are we as Winnipeggers? We are the most giving, kindest people. When we're putting out polls that say poverty and homelessness are the most important thing in Winnipeg, what is about Winnipeg? That means they, like me, believe in human rights. They believe in compassion. They believe in the dignity of all people. That is why I am the only candidate actively speaking about that. Every policy, every movement forward is through a human rights lens. It's through a fairness lens. It's through a just lens. That is the only way to proceed. Everything else is a failure. Thank you.